Live from the 607, it is the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking sports locally and nationally. Why don't you join in the conversation with the hashtag ODPH? Here we go. And welcome to another edition of the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. I am your host, Ken M., and this is the kickoff of UFC International Fight Week. It's a great time if you're into mixed martial arts. There's a very big card coming up, UFC 226, Miocic versus Cormier, and I needed some help to break this card down. So I went out and I found the best fighters in the 607 representing CrowsNest MMA. Now, the one you know because he's basically a panelist. He's been on the show more times than any other guest we've had, and for good reason, because he's entertaining, and it's the one and only Vince, the common man Ciotoli.
What up, what up, what up?
And Vince did not come alone. No. He brought a king with him. So we have a common man and a king joining us. Now, if you don't know our king, we're going to break it down to you. He is currently the Gladius Fights light heavyweight champion, is the one and only King of Lisle, Luke Visingard.
Yo, what's happening?
What's going on, Luke? Thank you for coming on the show.
I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Hashtag ODPH. So we're going to talk to Luke for a bit, kind of give you a little background of his story of his mixed martial arts journey, and then later in the show, I'm going to let Vince and Luke break down UFC 226, so get your popcorn ready. But first and foremost, Luke, so what is your background here? Growing up, you're from Lisle, New York?
I'm actually from Maine, New York.
Okay.
Right on the border of Lisle. And well, they gave me the name King of Lisle. It wasn't something that I gave myself or went by, or because I'm sure if I went down to like the Lisle Inn and said I was the King of Lisle, I'm sure I'd have to fight everybody in the whole town there. So
that makes sense. That makes sense.
I'd be all right, but if I got to go against every single one of them, that'd be kind of tough.
It'd be kind of a long marathon. Yeah, I can
yeah.
understand how that goes. So growing up, you're just kind of getting involved in sports and such. And
yeah, I was always into football. Football was my first love. I played that for 17 years. I played
wow. Okay.
Yeah, I played all the way through high school, through college. Started 4 years in college.
Oh, wow.
Up at Morrisville State College,
okay,
near Syracuse.
What position?
I was a defensive end in college, but most of my career I was actually a cornerback.
Okay.
I was a little skinny guy all the way up to about 9th, 10th grade. I was like 120 pounds at the beginning of high school. End of high school, I was 225. And he's like, all right, you're done playing corner. You're way too big for that.
Right.
So they moved me to linebacker at first and then to DN finally.
Okay. So, you have the football background, and then, what was your kind of, idea that, maybe I want to do something else and want to get into mixed martial arts?
Well, I mean, I've always loved fighting. Even since I was a little kid, I've always been a big boxing. I was always a boxing fan first before anything else. Boxing and, WWE wrestling.
Absolutely.
I was a fan since like the late 80s. So I used to believe it was real, like most kids back in the day.
I mean, it
It
definitely
is real. What are you talking about?
Still real to me, damn it.
Hey, you can't go wrong with it. I mean, it's a physical sport, and, for what they do, you got to give them credit for it.
Yeah.
So going into that, what, really kind of drew you that, as you're, playing football and you're kind of, fighting has always been something that you've been a fan of. So what would you say was like the first fight you saw that you're like, you know what, I think I want to do this?
That's a good question. Probably when I was a little kid. I mean, I'll give the credit to the Rocky movies, actually. I was a huge fan of Rocky. I watched them all the time, over and over and over again, just to get myself hyped up mostly for football games. But at one point, I think I was in middle school, I told my mother, I'm like, one day when I'm done playing football, I want to start doing some fighting shit. She thought I was crazy. She's like, no, I ain't got to do that.
Well, I don't think any parents wants to hear that kind of out the gate. But
so then once college finally finished up, I got hurt my last game. I was going to I had a coach that was going to hook me up with a tryout in the CFL.
Okay.
So I was going to try to do that, and I ended up breaking my arm in the last game, and the tryout was like, I guess like 2 weeks or something after coach said.
So obviously you can't do it then.
So yeah, I couldn't do the tryout, and I don't know why I never got back on. I should have tried a little harder with football, but took about 6-7 months off where I didn't do much of anything. I was still lifting weights, still staying in shape. I'm like, well, I got to find something to do. I'm like, I always loved fighting. I've always wanted to get in MMA. But I couldn't really find a gym at that time. There was nothing really I liked in the area, and I started boxing over at the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay.
So I did that for 3 years, and then that kind of, like, I couldn't get fights, couldn't get boxing matches. People weren't taking it serious enough over there. So then I switched over to 5-element MMA.
Okay.
And I did that. We do that 2-3 years? It
was
I started a little bit after when Vinny first started there.
Yeah, we were there for about, I would say,
3 years.
Three,
Yeah.
almost 4, I would say.
Then the name changed to what? Power One MMA.
It was
Halfway
Power
through.
One.
It was Power 1, and then it went to 5 Element.
Yeah.
And then they kind of went their own way, so we met James.
We met.
So you met James Rodriguez?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Who is Scarecrow from CrowsNest MMA,
head coach.
Yep.
And then right then and then you're kind of saying, okay, I've been doing some boxing over there. Really kind of didn't pan out for what I wanted to do, and then you got kind of hooked up with Fifth Element.
Yeah, 5 Element.
Or 5 Element.
5 Element and Power 1, and
then just
that's kind of where I started learning the ground game. So like I had to stand up. I always felt comfortable standing up with people, but like I won my first 3 fights by KO.
His first fight was insane.
So break that down for me. So your first boxing fight?
No, boxing I didn't. I had 3 boxing matches, and I lost all 3 of them. It was not a good start.
So definitely it was like you didn't think after the third time you're like, okay, maybe I got to switch it up and do something different.
Yeah.
So then your first amateur fight. Now at this point you're at Power 1, and you're not at CrowsNest, or are you at CrowsNest? At this
point? No, I was at Power 1 for first MMA fight.
Okay.
Yeah, I fought my first 4 or 5. I think were Power 1 MMA before I switched over to.
And so break that down. So now
CrowsNest.
now you're doing amateur fights.
Yeah.
And describe that first fight. Like, what was the mentality going in? Like, what were your
I'll start with my first boxing fight. I went in there, and they said I was going to give me an opponent who had never fought before, and he was young and up and comer. And then I get there, I probably had sparred maybe 1 real round in my life, so I was not ready for this fight.
Oh boy!
I get there, and they're like, "No, we don't have that guy for you. We have another guy for you." And it was some guy who was like, he had multiple boxing matches. He was 3-0 in MMA. They're like, yeah, you can fight this guy. He's a heavyweight. And I'm like, whatever. I was real cocky back then. I didn't know.
So at this point, you're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
I
I'm
just
like, whatever.
I'll
fight this guy.
I'll fight anybody.
I came out swinging. I bloodied his nose pretty good, and then I just got so gassed in the fight. Coach was like, just take a knee, knee. Because I couldn't even stand up in the second round, so I just took a knee, and then they start counting, and then the ref stopped, and I was like, oh, what the hell?
Well, at that point,
I was fine. He did knock me down once. It wasn't even from like getting rocked. He literally just knocked me over because I didn't have good footwork back then. I was
You're wearing New Balances too.
I was wearing New Balances because I didn't have boxing shoes. I didn't have anything.
So it's just pretty much just as bare bones basics as you can get in, and you're thrown in against somebody that's way more outclassing you and way more
older.
Experienced.
He's been doing it for like 10 years, and I went around the sparring. They set me up for that one a little bit.
Yeah, I think at that point, if they didn't have the right guy there, they were doing something else, so they had to make do with what they had. But still, at that point, you're as amateur as it gets, and then getting thrown into there, and you lose your first one. So then
it made me more hungry though. So I mean, I appreciate that fight. I'm glad they threw me right. If I went in there and just knocked someone's head off, some kid who never really fought before, I don't think I would have learned much from that.
No, because I think obviously you would have been going in there and going, wow, this is easy. And it definitely isn't. So, I mean, with your losses, you learn from it, you can only grow from it.
Mm-hmm.
So then going into the second fight of your boxing career.
I did a lot better. They didn't KO the last 2 ones. I just lost by points because I realized amateur boxing is more just about scoring points and landing punches. Like I was hitting the other guy harder, but he was hitting me more. And then that's what, it goes to the score. It goes to the scorecard.
Anytime it goes to the judges, you never know.
I'm like, look at his face. Look at my face. I'm fine. And I was rocking this kid, and they gave him the fight. And it was also, I think, the last one.
So now from this point, the boxing is done. You're kind of like, okay, I've had 3 fights now. They've not gone my way. Yeah. Now it's like I still want to do fights. I still want to, use that part of my skill set. And then you're gravitating towards the MMA world.
Yeah. Well, I think I still wanted to do boxing at that point. I'm still down to even do boxing at this point. I just think it was back then. I wasn't ready to fight. I was at the wrong gym. I wasn't really training with guys. I wasn't sparring the proper way. And now that I've learned all that, I'd totally be down to do another boxing match. But I also always wanted to try MMA, so that's when I went over to an MMA gym. I'm like, I feel like it'd be easier too. Boxing, you're just like throwing the whole fight. I mean, those 2-minute rounds in that have always been harder to me, it seems, than fighting 3-minute rounds in MMA.
Yeah, because boxing it's one-dimensional, but still very difficult. There's no question. But with MMA, there's so much you have to think about. With takedowns and grappling and wrestling and jiu-jitsu. It's just not striking. Whereas boxing, you have 2 fists and just last man standing, so to speak.
Yeah, I won't say it's more skilled, but I definitely say there's a lot more skills you need in MMA.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah. But when it comes to MMA, I've always wanted to do ground game stuff. I wrestled 1 year in 8th grade.
Wrestled Troy Nickerson, didn't you?
I did wrestle Troy Nickerson.
Really?
I believe he was a 6th grader at the time, and I was an 8th grader.
Okay.
And I wrestled him in the stack, the stack championship tournament or whatever it was, and I took him down. I got the takedown on him, but then after that, it was all downhill.
It was lights out after that.
He won that whole bracket, and I ended up finishing third. I was losing my last wrestling match. I was down like 10 points to nothing or something like that, and my dad's like, "Oh, you got to pin him in the third round." I pinned him in the third round, so that was pretty cool. That was my whole wrestling career.
But still, I mean, so at this point, though, as you're making your transition to MMA, you got your boxing background. You've been doing that. You got your wrestling from amateur in high school.
Yeah.
And so now coming into the gym the first time, what is your overall feeling at this stage?
It was just I was trying to show, I can throw hands. I got hands. I was trying to show that off, but once we got to the ground, I'm like, I'm bigger than a lot of these guys. I can out-muscle them. And then you go against some guys with real skills on the ground, these little skinny guys, and they start tying you up and choking you out. It's definitely a humbling experience.
Right, because, I mean, obviously you're not used to that. And then, I mean, sure, there's a lot of people that just, watch it on TV and go, oh, I think I can do it. And it's like until you get to a mat, it's definitely not the case. I think Vince can attest to that, too.
Yeah, everything looks easy on TV.
Yeah.
Everything that's easy on TV.
And then going into this, now you've been going from the different gyms. I mean, the gym names have been changing over, and then you finally land at CrowsNest.
Yeah.
And then tell us how, what is the importance of, the camp that you're in then?
There, it's definitely more of a pro camp, and we have two pro fighters, in James and Vinny. And we get there, we get to work. There's no public classes. We have some other regulars in once in a while, but as soon as we get there, we get right to work. We work what we want to work. It's not like you just come in and
all right, now
do the same thing every day.
Gotta warm up now.
You gotta warm up, do this, do that, do all these simple stuff. We can just get right into it and get right to work. And we don't have really a set schedule, so we kind of just go. I mean, Vinny's there at least every day, sometimes 2-3 times a day.
Yeah, Vince has elaborated on
he's a hard worker.
I mean, yeah, he's one of the hardest working guys I know. And then, especially going into that camp, that now it's kind of like, okay, now you're still an amateur fighter, Vinny's a pro fighter, but still there's no difference. Getting ready for fights is getting ready for fights.
It's the same, yeah.
And then you guys just come in, and there's now just more, I don't want to say a more serious, feeling about it, but it's more like, okay, if I really want to be the best at what I'm doing, I really got to buy in. And with the coaches around me, they're getting me to that level that I'm ready to go at.
I think a lot of it, too, is the intensity that which we train. I mean, you see a lot of places, and these guys just kind of go through the motions. But I think there's no easy rounds where we're at. I mean, if I'm not worried about Luke bulldozing me, I got worried about James choking me and doing all sorts of awful, terrible, lanky things. And there is no breather around. You want a breather, you sit off the mat for a minute. That's what that is. There's no I'm going to lay on someone and coast.
Yeah, one example is when we do grappling rounds, we always do it standing. We don't do any start from your knees stuff.
Okay.
You go a lot of different jiu-jitsu schools. They just start from their knees and start doing jiu-jitsu right there. It's not the same as like when you're actually standing up. You got to worry about takedowns and someone
So it's kind of more gearing you towards, your pro fights. I mean, obviously with two pro fighters, as you said, that's in the camp. I mean, this kind of knowledge getting taught to you has only got to just help your game.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. 100%.
It's night and day. Luke's gotten so much better in the last year and a half, 2 years. It's insane.
So at this point, you've done a couple amateur fights at other camps. So why don't you describe your first amateur fight now with CrowsNest?
First one.
That was the Joey fight?
That was a Joey one. That didn't go really my way. I mean, I had a long period off. I've always had trouble getting fights.
Okay.
Especially in light heavyweight and heavyweight divisions, it's sometimes a little tougher. I've had 17 fights dropped, I believe now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amateur MMA.
That's amateurs, though. That's a lot of guys have that problem. That's
okay.
Especially the bigger guys. I mean, smaller guys, there's a lot more of them. So there's a lot more,
That's interesting.
chances.
That's something I never would have even thought of.
No, yeah. I had, before my title fight, I think it was a whole year before my last one, or 2 years.
Wow. It was almost 2 years.
It was almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years.
And I was training the whole time. I mean, I had surgery back in November, so I mean that put me on the shelf for a few months. But before that, I was training all the time, trying to get fights, and I just couldn't get fights.
Now, I mean, obviously that's got to be frustrating. But so, what is the mentality then? I mean, because as you're trying to get fights, and you go from your first fight. I mean, what was the space? Now, we're talking CrowsNest MMA time. Mm. Your first fight there to your second fight. What was the time frame?
That actually was really quick. I had one in May with CrowsNest, and then I had one in August that same year. But then after that was the big span right in half. So I guess it was only 3. I've only had 3 fights with the CrowsNest.
And that's crazy in the time
frame.
But
it's been like 3 years. So.
But it's been 3 years and 3 fights. I mean, that's because you hear about a lot of times when fighters are not fighting. And I mean, you said you were injured
Yeah, I mean, I was injured. I had to have surgery on my elbow. So.
Ooh, and how was the time frame on that?
That took a couple months. I mean, before the surgery, I was having lots of problems. That's another reason I wasn't really taking fights.
Okay.
But once I finally got that fixed, the whole time, so it was probably like 5-6 months.
So 5-6 month layoff, and then just at this time.
I mean, I was still training, but
right, you're still training, but you're not taking any fights. But
Yeah.
at this point, though, coming back from injury, I mean, does the injury still linger in the back of your head? Like, I can't, like, if I was used to throwing an elbow, I can't do that anymore because I'm worried that's going to hurt.
I did have problems at first, but now that I've actually taken some time off, like as soon as I got the surgery, I was probably back in the gym within a month.
Yeah,
Back training, being stupid, not listening to the doctor like I should have. But I've taken a little bit of time off now. In the summertime, it went a little slower, and it's definitely healed back up. It feels 100% ready to go.
And that's, I mean, that's just got to be something, too, because, I mean, we always think that with injuries that, that's just always something you got to worry about, especially in a physical sport like MMA, that you really just have to go, okay, do I take it easy? Do I, still go full throttle? And then you're jumping right back in the gym and doing that. I mean, with that going on, I mean, that's just got to be so much in the back of your head going on, that trying to be focused on fights. And then if you're not getting any fights, it's just, what's the mentality there? Just going to just work as hard as you can at the gym and just wait? You
just got to keep working. Yeah. I mean, a lot of guys, I know other guys I've trained with before, if they don't have a fight coming up, they don't really train hard. I'm sure, Vinny, you know of a guy we're thinking of. It's like some of these guys, they won't train. Like, it's like they won't train at all unless they have a fight coming up. And that's not my mentality. I'm just I want to get better all the time. I'm getting older, a little bit older now. I want to fight pro. I've been wanting to fight pro for the last 2 years. I've been trying to get a pro fight, but it hasn't worked out so far. So hopefully something soon.
You never know. I mean, if there's a fight promotion out here that wants to hit up Luke, we will have his Instagram link on our page. So definitely get in touch with him and CrowsNest. We'll definitely make that happen.
And not just me, Vinny and James too. I mean, they've had a little more opportunities, but it's not always hard time trying to get a fight.
I mean, because I got to imagine that you, as a pro fighter, especially trying to get on different circuits. I mean, you got to go travel. I mean, it's just making the connections and getting out there and getting your name there. I mean, that's
a lot of it's networking. A lot of it comes down to, hey, did I post on Instagram today? Did I do something? Do I have a Facebook fighter page? Which I don't. I don't believe in superfluous stuff like that. But that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, as much as we hate, we're not big like post about our our training day or what we ate that day or where we train. Like, there's a lot of guys that do that. It's probably a good thing to do.
Well, I mean,
people see that you're training and think you're fighting. Like, some people don't even they ask us, "You guys still train?" We train every day,
all the time.
But I mean, you don't really need to make that public. It's just if you just keep making a note that, hey, I'm looking for a fight. Who wants to throw?
Yeah,
I mean,
that too.
Just basically just getting the name out there, because I mean, sometimes when you're showcasing too much, and especially like for camps, you don't want to give away all the trade secrets. Like, you don't have cameras in there all the time or somebody taking pictures, because I mean then it kind of transitions from, okay, are we here to work or are we here to pose? In just lesser terms.
That's been a lot of you see all these guys some of these guys and they always post on social media and stuff. It's like, by the time you get done doing all that nonsense, where's your training at? Where's your training at? What are you putting the work in? Are you concerned about, did I, got a video of me hitting pads? Are you working what you want to work? Or are you working with something that's going to look cool for the internet?
Yeah, because, I mean, I'm sure that once they get into the cage, it's going to be a day and night difference, because you're going to get exposed. Have you been putting in the work for real, or have you been doing it just for a couple weeks and hoping, it flies by? So at this point, though, you've now been with CrowsNest and you've had 3 fights?
3 fights, yeah.
And then was the third the title fight?
Third was the title fight, correct.
We're going to take a quick break because we want to hear definitely the story of how Luke got his belt. You are listening to the ODPH.
Hi, this is Mike C. from I Am Horror. You're listening to the ODPH, the most killer podcast on the planet.
Coming back for the second segment on this week's ODPH, and I have the King of Lisle, Luke Visingard, the common man, Vince Ciotoli from CrowsNest MMA in studio. So as we were talking last segment, Luke was telling us about his amateur story growing up in fighting and boxing and doing some wrestling, and now he's done a couple of amateur fights. But now break down your Gladius fight title run, I guess, to get to the championship title match.
Yeah, I mean, they offered it to me. It wasn't something I asked for. They were something they offered. I was like, I'll take anything at this point, you know.
Because at this point, how long has the layoff been?
That was almost 2 years.
So almost 2 years to get thrown a title shot. I mean, that's crazy, but that's awesome.
I mean, I was coming off a win in my last fight, so I mean, that's how I believe title fights. You should have a winning record and be coming off a win. There's a lot of title fights out there nowadays where that's how it used to be. You'd have to have a winning record, come off a winning fight, but now it's just like they're just giving them to everybody.
Yeah. So at this point, I mean, you got to just take advantage of what's thrown at you. So So going into this, you've had the long layoff. What is the mentality you get with your coaches and you say, okay, this is the plan. This is what we got to do. This is my opponent. Break it down for us.
We really didn't change a whole lot. It was just keep training the way I had been training. I wanted, I had to cut weight, get down to 205. I'm normally walking around 230, 235. So that was my main focus once I first got the fight. But we went to this fight. This guy I was supposed to fight. He's a southpaw, so that's something we don't really have any southpaws. We have guys that switch stances. Switch
stance, but nobody like traditional southpaw.
Yeah, nobody traditional southpaw. So that was a little something different. I had to work. Going to this camp, I made Vinny go southpaw a whole lot.
Oh my god,
he didn't enjoy it, but he got a lot better at it. Yeah, going out throughout camp.
And I forgot all of it at this point. So
you can definitely say Vinny's taking the abuse here, and he's getting you all set for the fight. And Vinny is definitely letting you know, okay, he's really hitting me hard, or he's going, you got to work on this, you got to work on that. Like he's giving you honest feedback when you guys are sparring.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was getting honest feedback when I was eating a right hook once in a while. Yeah, it's something you're not used to seeing when you're fighting orthodox fighters.
So going into this though, you kind of really focus more intently on defending the southpaw stance.
The southpaw stance, yeah. I figured he was going to try to stand, and I think he had some kicks too. So I was a little worried about getting kicked from different angles because being southpaw and whatnot. But I went in there with kind of a cautious mindset. I want to fight smart, So
you don't want to get caught up in the moment. There.
Yeah, there's other fights where I've went out there and I just tried to knock the dude's heads off, and I'd come out and swing wildly and. Sometimes it works for me, and then a couple of times it didn't work so well. So
do you think
I learned from that?
I was going to say, do you think the long layoff helped you with that? To kind of really take a look back and go, okay, my previous fights I was doing this, so now when I get to the title fight now, I really want to change up kind of how I go.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The long layoff definitely helped me because I was able to go back and actually change the things and not have to do it right on the fly. Like when you have you're going fight to fight to fight. When you're in a camp, it's really hard to like change things. You're so worried about getting in shape, so hard about worried about cutting weight.
Absolutely.
And the style of the opponent. It's hard to like really change your fighting style.
Now I know with MMA, especially with title fights. I mean, we took a look at the Romero and Whitaker fight. Weight cut is a big issue.
Oh yeah.
Was the weight cut for this very difficult for you, or was it something that you kind of like you have a gradual hold on?
It's not really super hard. It's just the fact that you really gotta like. I love eating cookies.
Yeah.
I love eating cookies, eating ice cream, eating the right way. And when you got to just eat nothing but chicken and lettuce for like 3-4 weeks, it gets in your head a little bit. You really just got to be mentally, it's a mentally tough type thing.
But you're just so focused on the end goal, which is, okay, I want to get to the title fight. I want this, and the drive is carrying you through. So
title fight, any type of fight, yeah. As soon as I have a fight coming up, no more alcohol, no more eating bad. It's time to get my weight down. Because it doesn't I feel like it doesn't come off me as well as it comes off some other fighters, but
no, that's a fair statement.
Yeah, Vinny laughs at that. He does like mocking voices of me.
I can't cut weight like me, man. Come on.
But especially you're around fighters that are cutting weight all the time. So I mean that's only got to be beneficial, and then everybody's checking your weight too. So you're on track, and they kind of have like a time frame of, okay, you should be down weighing this much on this day and going into the fight. So then going into it, you're now at the weigh-ins. Weigh-ins are done. What is that feeling like?
Oh, that's the best feeling in the world. That's the hardest part of the fight. Is if you can get down to the weigh, because usually the last day, you're not eating or drinking anything for 24 hours before your last weight cut. You're super dehydrated. You're thirsty. So you finally get to start drinking water, eating food. You start to feel a little bit normal again. You haven't eaten like good kind of foods for forever. I always sneak a few bad things in before a fight, like a few cookies here.
Don't we all? I
mean,
let's be honest.
Because at that point, I mean, you've made weight, so you've done your contracted obligation for that.
Absolutely.
So then it's like, okay, if I want to go have some cookies, whatever, I can, and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's not that you're showing up for a title fight overweight, which I mean, like I said, I just bring up for what happened with Romero and Whitaker.
Oh boy!
And just, I mean, when you're going into a title fight, especially to miss weight, that's such a crucial thing. I mean, that's just like a job requirement there.
Yeah, see, guys at that level too, I just don't know how the hell they miss weight. They're getting paid. I'm doing this at amateur level, and they're doing it at pro level. You got to make weight. You got to make weight, make the money.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think they should take more money away if guys not making weight at pro fights. Or even they take a point away and they start the fight down a point. I think you should start down a point because you have an advantage. You cheat, you poke somebody in the eye. That's kind of they can't see well the rest of the fight. They're going to be overweight. Take a point away.
I mean, especially too if you think that you're getting paid to lose weight. Like you're getting your purse, you're getting your show money, you're getting everything to lose weight. Like I don't know about you, I don't want to lose money when I do all this.
No, I mean it's kind of mind blowing to hear how many fighters have been missing weight lately. Especially just for the UFC example, there's been a lot that have been missing, and just how crucial that is. I mean, that's just so part of the job. So here and on the amateur level, I mean, it's still the same. Everybody's doing the same thing, whether you're amateur or pro. It's just making sure that you're hitting your goal weight, and especially for a title fight, because the over under of what you can weigh for a title fight, you have to be spot on.
I think it's spot on. Right?
You have to be
right at the right weight. Yeah.
But once that's over, it's like, so you have how many hours of differences?
Usually it's about 24 hours right before fight time.
And what's the mind frame going in here? Like, okay, I'm at my first title fight, and the mentality do you have?
Well, your first focus is just you got to rehydrate. You got to put all the weight back on. And usually, most fighters I think put around 10 to 20 pounds at least. Going, the next day when you're actually fighting, you're 10 to 20 pounds heavier than you weighed in the day before.
And that's so crazy to hear. I mean, I've never done a weight cut. And just to hear that, you can put that much weight on in one day. I mean, it's just...
It's mostly water weight because you're so dehydrated when you're cutting weight, and you got to rehydrate once you weigh yourself again. You feel a lot better, too, and you feel
100% and you're ready to go.
Yeah.
So then...
It's not always the case.
No, I mean, sometimes it isn't, but it's just, just to make that cut, I mean, that's just one of the most extreme things for the sport.
Yeah.
But it's something you all know going into it, and it's just something that it comes with the turf. Yeah. That you got to make sure I have to hit weight. This is not a negotiable factor. Yeah. Unless somebody misses weight, and then you guys have to agree on catch weights, but that's a whole different story. Mm-hmm. But then going into the title fight, so you're rehydrated, everything is, heading right for the cage, and this is your moment. This is what you've been waiting for since the long layoff. Yeah. Describe that moment.
See, you don't want it to think like that. You want to go into the fight thing. It's just another day, just another fight. If you get I used to get, when I first started fighting, I used to get really excited. I used to get really amped up, and I'd go in there and I'd gas out real quick. You get all that adrenaline pumping. You've been waiting all that moment. You work so hard for that, and then you go in there and you're tired, and you don't fight like yourself, and you look like shit, and it's just like, you don't want that to happen. So you got to go in the fight. It's just another day at the office. It's something you've trained day in, day out for forever. Yeah. So you go in there and just do what you do.
So break down the title fight for Gladius for us here.
Well, the fight started, and I wanted to keep it standing for the most part, and then get takedowns at the end of the rounds to win. Guarantee I win the round. And basically, that's how all three rounds went. I ended up dropping him in the third round with a straight right. He started throwing away. He's trying to get a little wild because I was already up two rounds to none.
I'm not. I thought you fought. I thought you fought a very great fight, man. I thought you fought very tactically in that fight. I think
I would have liked to maybe in the first round maybe work a little harder for throw a little more hands, maybe try to knock him out in the first round, but.
But at
that time, I was fighting very cautious, especially being southpaw. I don't want to eat a right hook just because I got in there and just tried to get a knockout real quick.
Yeah, because at this point you're like, I want to win. I don't need to have a flashy knockout. I want to fight smart, not just throwing hands and hoping something lands. And especially as you're fighting against a southpaw, and this is different from the guys you fought in the gym, so you don't exactly know what he's going to be throwing at you. But you're playing it smart. You're playing it safe. You're doing enough that you're winning points, and you're winning points. Yeah,
and he was a little bit of a quicker guy, so he had good footwork, harder to hit. I think the quick guys are way harder to hit than the bigger lugs. I fought heavyweight my first fight, and those kind of guys you can.
They stand right in front.
They stand right there. They're easy to hit. The smaller guys, it's hard to hit them. So if you start swinging and missing, and then the guy counters you, you're gonna you get dropped. So
yeah. So at that point, though, going into the third round, that's kind of when you're like, okay, I definitely have this fight in the bag.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, it goes to the judges.
It did go to the judges. Yeah, I had him mounted full mount third round. I was pounding. I thought the ref was going to stop, and then the clock ran out. But that's kind of how all three rounds ended that same way. I was hoping I could finish it on the ground, just because I got full mount, get on top, start ground and pound. But
did you ever think at any point that, okay, I think I won this, but it's going to the judges' hands? Because you always hear never let it go to the hands of the judges. Did you ever think like, oh man, I didn't close it. I'm not.
No, as soon as the fight was over, I knew I had it. He literally didn't even touch me in the fight. Like I didn't get hit with anything. So
then the judges. Judges give you the decision.
And I had the takedowns. Yeah, I had the 30-27 all three judges. So. And
then they give you the belt. What is that feeling like?
That was a great feeling. Finally, actually get a championship under my belt. Around my belt.
Yeah. But
around your waist.
Around my waist, yeah. No, I felt really good. I was kind of doing it for my family. My family was kind of going through a tough time at that time, too. And they're all fight fans. Like my grandmother, she was sick at the time. And she did end up dying
I'm sorry.
A week after that. So, but, when I showed up at the hospital the next day after that, I showed her I had the belt. And she couldn't talk or say anything. She opened her eye and she kind of had a few tears come out. So that was like a huge moment for me to see her.
It's got to be a great feeling.
Give her something before
to
she
show
passed
her,
away.
Yeah, to show that you won the belt. So now you have the belt. What's next?
What's next? Next would hopefully be a pro fight. I'm willing to take anything. I'm willing to travel. Any type of opponent. I'll even take maybe a heavyweight fight if it's the right fit. I just want to fight sometime soon.
And then you want to defend your belt too if that comes up too, if need be. But you're leaning pro though.
Yeah, I'm leaning pro. If I can't get a pro fight, I would take one more amateur fight. But I mean, at this point, I'm getting old. I'm going to be 33 in July, so it's like.
So now
you get to that age, it's like you got to go pro or never. And I already have 9 fights amateur. That's more than most guys that go amateur. So
then, this is the goal the rest of the year is to get the pro fight, no matter what.
Get the pro fight, absolutely.
And then Vin, any fights up for you?
Not yet. We're hopefully looking towards the fall. I'm ready to rock. I mean, I gotta get in a little bit better shape, but I'm ready to rock whenever.
He's already in great shape.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, it says
the weight might not be right.
The weight, yeah,
his shape level. He's
I've been enjoying life. I'm ready to rock whenever. I mean, put Luke and I. Someone out there, we dare you. Put Luke and I both on a card. Watch us knock both people out.
Oh yeah.
So now, if any promotions or any fighters want to get at you, what is the easiest way?
Oh, I mean, you can get a hold of me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. Call me up.
You have a Twitter?
Yeah. Well, the best probably would be Instagram or Facebook. Yeah.
Okay. And then Vin, Instagram.
Instagram's the best way. You want to come get it.
Or CrowsNest MMA.
That's actually the best way. That's probably the best way.
Get a hold of James Rodriguez.
Yep.
Any three of us, for any of us, if you want to fight, you need a fighter. Anywhere from 155 to 265, let us know.
And this podcast goes worldwide too. So I know there's got to be some fighters and there's got to be some promotions out there that definitely want to throw some hands with CrowsNest MMA. This is the easiest way. We will post links on our Facebook and on our Instagram to get a hold of Luke and Vince and CrowsNest. So definitely check that out.
Appreciate that, Ken.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on the show. Now we have a couple more questions before we get into the UFC.
All right.
Now Vin had one before we decided to start taping. So, Vin, I'm going to let you ask this because I think it's a great question.
I know you love football, bro. I know you do. We've seen guys like Matt Mitrione who, they played in the NFL, but they weren't a name. He wasn't a name. He bounced around here and there. Well, but now we have the Greg Hardy. We have someone like Greg Hardy in there.
Yeah.
Who's more or less infamous. But in your opinion, it could be, you can give me a couple of names. Doesn't matter. All time, past or present. Who in the NFL and professional football could have successfully made the jump to MMA?
Ooh, that's a real good question. You said all time?
All time, past, present, it don't matter.
The first one that comes to mind would probably be Lawrence. I hate the Giants, but Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing when he said that too.
I mean, that dude was a freak, and he didn't. I feel like he didn't even really work at it. He was just a natural animal out there. He was an animal too. He wasn't afraid of anything. He was very good at football. I'm sure he would have been very good at MMA too.
That is, I would have thought him too, because especially like a linebacker, I think has the best chance.
Yeah,
I think because you have to cover so much ground, so you have to be very agile in takedowns, and especially if you're a very large individual that you can throw some hands, you can only do some damage. I mean, LT was just, I would imagine he would have had a deep run in MMA if he wanted to go that route.
Another one that might have been an interesting choice would have been Deion Sanders. These cornerbacks, they have really fast hands. They're used to punching at receivers. I mean, he maybe could have fought a lighter weight class. He could have got down to like 185 or something, but I don't know. He was a little. He might have been a little soft, too. He didn't like to get hit sometimes. So
yeah, I mean, that's one thing he always didn't like contact.
Yeah, if you had a corner that really I'm trying to think of a corner that really likes to hit.
I would say
good at punching receivers at the line. That might be a good.
I was always thinking if you want to talk cornerbacks that was always good at blocking. So I mean, obviously they would get Hines Ward.
Oh yeah, he would have been real good at that sport, I believe.
Yeah, I think
the way he laid people out blocking and just how tough he was.
Yeah. Because especially he was kind of just not afraid to block anybody, and he would go up against guys twice his size. I know Vin is not a big football guy, so
linebackers.
So speaking of football, before we go end the segment here, you're a big Dallas Cowboys fan.
Absolutely.
What's thoughts on this season?
I'm hoping for a great season. Defensively, we have I think still got some issues. I'm not worried about the receivers. Losing Dez and having all these newcomers come in, I think Dak's just going to be just fine. Losing Jason Witten was a huge, huge loss for us, I believe.
Because he was like the heart and soul of your team.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. If we can get Zeke going, though, and they run the ball properly all season, I think they definitely can win the division.
It's going to be wide open, too, because, Philly.
Giants are there. Phillies, they're the champs, but
I think they're going to
have a Super I think they're going to have the Super Bowl hangover.
It could happen, but I think every team has gotten better. I mean, that's one thing about the NFL. It always has so much parity between teams that you can't go there, except for maybe the Patriots, because somehow the Patriots always wind up.
As long as they got Brady and Belichick, they're just fine.
Yeah, they'll be fine, except Brady's getting up there. It's like you wonder when the year of Father Time is going to get him. I mean, me as a Buffalo Bills fan, I'm waiting whenever.
Yeah.
I don't like Brady, but I respect him. I mean, but
he's the best to ever do it at quarterback, if you ask me. I think nobody better. I think even right now, I think he's the best quarterback in the league, even over like Rodgers and
he's
got 505 yards in Super Bowl. The only reason they lost is because the protection.
Yeah, I mean, it's that whole Super Bowl, but that even just shows you whoever shows up for a fight, even like for fighting it, whoever shows up that day, whoever imposes their will is going to get the job done.
Yeah,
and you can't go wrong with that. I want to thank Luke for coming on the show. He's going to hang with us for next segment because we have to talk some UFC 226. You are listening to the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour.
It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward, no steps back.
Hey, this is Vince, the Common Man Ciotoli, local MMA fighter, telling you to keep on listening to the ODPH, the 607's up-and-coming newest podcast.
We knew right where we'd be, floating on the airwaves, you see. It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward and no steps back. We knew right where we'd be.
Coming back for the final segment on this week's ODPH, and we have the King of Lisle, Luke Visingard, the Common Man, Vince Ciotoli, in from CrowsNest MMA, and we're going to talk a little UFC 226. Gentlemen, what is your thoughts on the card?
Oh, I think this is the biggest card of the year. Can't wait.
Same, man. This is going to be a big one. I can't wait for it.
So let's go. Waste no more time. Let's just jump into it. So the prelims, what fights stand out to you on this one?
I know for me that Curtis Millender versus Matt Griffin, that fight's going to be nuts. I guarantee. Curtis Millender, if you haven't seen him, watch him. He knocked out Thiago Alves. He throws a lot of crazy, flashy stuff. He's the next big thing, I would say.
I'm excited to see Uriah Hall, see if he can finally get his act together. The dude's got talent. I think he could be a future champion. So, and Paulo Costa, he's no joke.
He's a big boy.
He's a big boy.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially for me, it's Yancy Medeiros versus Mike Perry. I think if
God.
you want to see fireworks and you just want to see straight boxing at an MMA level, this is the one to watch because I don't see any takedowns happening in this one.
No.
Any
just
way.
standing in the pocket.
They're just going to stand there until somebody drops. It's going to be an amazing fight. So, I mean, the prelims are already pretty stacked, but as we go to the main card, gentlemen, what is your thoughts on Gohan Saki versus Khalid Rountree?
I got to go with Turkish Tyson, Gokhan Saki.
Yeah, I'm going with Saki too. I mean, the dude's kickboxing legit. I think the other guy's going to try to stand with him and try to prove it, prove what he's got, and I think he's going to get shut down.
Khalil Rountree's a big dude, though. I mean, if he gets a hold of Saki, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I think if he takes him to the ground and gets on top, I think he's going to be in trouble. Saki is going to be in trouble, but I think, like you said, his kickboxing is top notch. I think he can definitely hang there, and I think this one's going to go maybe decision. I could see maybe a split decision. I'll give you an early prediction on that.
I think so.
So going to the next fight, Anthony Showtime Pettis versus Michael Chiesa.
Give me Chiesa. If Chiesa gets his back, it's over. Done deal.
I'm going with Pettis with a kick off the cage knockout.
I got to go with Showtime Pettis. I have been a huge Showtime Pettis since the WEC days. Nothing against Chiesa because, like I said, he has a great ground game, and he's going to grapple, and you know that's all he's going to be bringing to the table on this one. But I do like Pettis and his striking in this one. I think he's going to maybe not have another flashy matrix kick, even though I would love to see it. But he works with Duke Rufus. Ben Askren's in that camp with Tyrone Woodley, too. You know he's going to be ready for the grappling there. I think he's going to pull it off, too. I think he's going to get back on the winning ways at the 155s.
His resume already, his resume is way bigger than Michael Chiesa's, too.
At the same time, though, when you look at it, Pettis sometimes doesn't show up to fight. Like, Pettis sometimes, like, you'll have the nights where he's just a serial killer, and then there's other nights where, people are just murking him,
Well, I think it depends on how the first round, like the first couple minutes go. Because I think sometimes where he does is he'll kind of be maybe a little hesitant, and then he's kind of like trying to feel out his opponent. But by that time, he's usually taken a shot or two that's rocked him, and it's tough to come back. Like I remember in his title defense, he got the concussion the first round.
Oh, yeah.
And then he just was, shot for the rest of the fight. I mean, obviously being so, and with Rafael Dos Anjos. So this one, I think, though, with Chiesa, I know he's going to be really looking to take Pettis down. So if Pettis can block those enough and get enough strikes in, and he's going to try doing something flashy, doing something Showtime-esque on it, I think he's going to pull the win off. I definitely like him in that one. And now we have one of the biggest heavyweight title fights in recent memory. Francis Ngannou, Derek Lewis.
Give me the Black Beast.
Oh, Black Beast
via cardio.
That's my favorite fighter right there.
Via cardio, no less.
Via cardio show. That's not the reason he's going to win.
He's going to win by cardio. Come on,
man. Neither of them have cardio.
Listen. If it came down to it, I think Derek Lewis is in better shape than Francis Ngannou.
I tell you this one, we talked about Darius and Perry being just haymakers. This one is just going to be scary just for how many hands are thrown. This one will not be a jiu-jitsu battle by any means.
No.
This is going to be just maybe a dirty boxing against the cage in a clinch. That is the closest you're going to get to any type of grappling. This is going to be just haymakers thrown.
Yeah, this is King Kong and Godzilla. This is
the only
two monsters.
The only thing I don't hope is that it doesn't fall to one of the heavyweight tropes, which is if it's not over in the first minute of the first round, they're just going to be circling each other, threatening that big shot.
Well, that happened in Black Beast's last fight. He was losing the fight going into the third round. That guy, he kept on taking Derek Lewis down. And in the third round, Derek, one punch, dropped him. That's all it takes.
Yeah, all you need is that one shot, and I think both of them know what the other one's bringing. So you might
There's
see
some animosity, too.
They've been talking a little trash on the social media. And you know what? But that's good, though, because you want to go in there, and you definitely don't want to be doing a high-fiving and hugging. I mean, you can do that after the fight. But,
that's dumb.
Yeah, but in between rounds, no, you just want to go there, and you want to definitely get the win. This one, man, I tell you, I think we all win as being fight fans. But if I got to choose somebody, I'm going to go Derek Lewis, too. I just got a feeling like Ngannou's coming off the title fight against Miocic, and I mean, he's going to come out with a chip on his shoulder. We definitely want to get back in the winning ways.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a close fight, though. I think if Francis can, I think it might be a close fight. If Francis cleaned up, got a little bit of cardio, he went 3 rounds and beat Curtis Blades.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, that's
Curtis
true.
Blades is the number 2 ranked guy, I think, in heavyweight right now. Right behind Francis is still number 1. Yeah, he's number 2.
He's up around there now.
He went 3 rounds with him and beat him in that, and that dude's a legit wrestler. So
I'm just saying, I think Derek Lewis is going to out-cardio Francis Ngannou. You heard it here first.
That will be something.
I think I just watch it happen.
I'm changing mine. I'm going with Francis.
Yeah, no, stop. Don't be spiteful. Don't be spiteful, Lou Visinger.
I'm going to stay to my pick, though. But I tell you what, I think that is going to be, at least for the fans, that'll be the fight of the night right there, because you're just going to see haymakers getting thrown left and right. Now we go to the co-main event. Max Holloway, Brian Ortega for the featherweight title.
This one's real tough to pick. T-City hasn't been beat yet. No,
14-0. 1 no contest. This one for me is tough because, I mean, Max Holloway is fighting at such an elite level. I mean, he's one of the few guys that actually tried fighting Khabib.
Yeah.
I would have watched that.
Yeah, which would have been amazing.
2-day notice.
On 2-day notice. So he is not afraid of anybody in this division. Ortega, he was ready to go too. And Ortega, I mean, he's just a different type of fighter. In the third round is usually when it clicks, and he's the scariest guy when it goes there. If I got to make a prediction, though, I'm going to go with Holloway. Not by much. I think it's going to be a decision to the judges. But I do like Holloway. I think he's just going to be a little more experienced going into this. And I think his striking just might be a little little more better.
I think T-City's probably one of the most, for as big as he's gotten and for like where he's like positioned now, I still think he's probably one of the most underrated fighters around.
Oh, absolutely. He flies under radars a lot.
Yeah.
He's good boxing, nasty jiu-jitsu, but I think Holloway's just, you got to think too, like when you're the champ and you're murking people, your confidence is like, you're like, I'm not saying this, I'm not saying that he thinks this, but Max Holloway's got going there thinking like, listen, I don't care what this guy's got for me. I'm going to give him, he's going to get it.
Yeah.
So I think Max Holloway believes in himself very highly, and I would say probably a split decision is the way to go, but I wouldn't be surprised if Ortega pulled it off. I would not.
I mean, no, this one is probably so evenly contested that it could go either way. I mean, but for my pick, though, like I said, I'm going to go judges on this. Luke, who you got?
I'm going to take Ortega in this fight. I've went against him the last 3 fights he's had, and I've been wrong. He's proved me wrong every time. It's about time I got to jump on T-City bandwagon. I love Max Holloway, but he starts slow in fights sometimes. I mean, maybe he just let, like against Aldo even, he would just let him tire out a little bit because Aldo was gassed out the last few fights.
Mm-hmm. He does some talking too.
He does some talking, yeah. He kind of just chills and then waits for it and then, finds the right opportunity to go in there and, finish the fight. But I don't know, T-City, he's smart. He's something. He's impressive. I think he's going to pull it off.
It's going to be something to watch. I mean, definitely this card is stacked from top to bottom. And going to the main event, the heavyweight title, the super fight of the year, I guess I would say, because rarely do you ever see the fight of Daniel Cormier's caliber going up a weight class and getting a title shot against Stipe Miocic for the heavyweight title. But this is one that is just a fan favorite one. This one, I'm going to let Vince start off. Who you got for this one?
This is one I would just think about it just all the time, because at one point you got to realize DC's not cutting weight.
Right.
He's not going to be hampered by a weight cut. He's going to be bigger. He's probably arguably going to be better shape. He's going to be faster, and he's fought big guys at heavyweight. That being said, listen, Stone Cold Stipe does what Stone Cold Stipe does, and I don't know. I've thought about it day and night, and you know what? I'm going Stipe.
Going Stipe? Luke?
I've gone back and forth on this fight like 5-6 times in my head trying to figure out who I think is going to win. I'm going to take DC. I've always been a huge DC fan, and especially in all the John Jones fights.
Yes.
It's so hard to go against Stipe. I want to switch already right now, but
you are Stipe Miocic.
Yeah, I kind of fight like him a little bit, I guess. I think DC's going to win by takedowns and ground and pound. I think he's going to be able to hold Stipe down. I think Stipe is going to be surprised by the strength of DC.
Yeah, I think too, man. When Stipe finally hits, like DC's gotten like I said, he's fought heavyweight before, but when Stipe hits him, I think it's just going to be like an oh shit moment. He's going to be like, uh-oh.
True.
He's going to be like, whoa, where's this?
He hasn't been hit by a heavyweight in a long time.
Yeah.
But he was beating everybody at heavyweight when he was in Strikeforce.
He was quicker than him, though, too. I mean,
he's quicker, yeah.
Bigfoot Silva. He beat Bigfoot Silva. He beat Barnett, but I think
quicker guys are harder to hit. I mean, Stipe's used to hitting all these big lugs in there, and now he's got to go against a quicker guy like DC who's used to moving around with other quick 205ers. I think
Stipe's not that slow, though. Like, that's the problem.
No, he's no slouch. Yeah,
True.
He's no slouch about it, but I guess for the way I'm looking at it, too, and Luke brought up a great point, DC has fought at heavyweight before, so this is not going to be, adjusting to a different weight class. This is almost going to be like, a homecoming. And Cormier had great success at heavyweight, and when he dropped down, it's because it was a better challenge. And he didn't want to fight Velasquez. Miocic has been on a tear, and I've picked against Miocic a lot, not because I don't like him, because I actually do like him as a fighter, but I always kind of think that he surprises me a lot. Going into this, if I got to choose somebody, though, I am taking DC, and this is why. I think his wrestling is going to give some challenges to Miocic. And like you said, Miocic is so used to hitting heavyweights that I think that adjusting his game might take a little while to get kind of the rhythm of the fight. So I could see him start getting some takedowns maybe later in the 3rd, 4th rounds, so to speak. But I think that DC is going to impose his will early. And for him, this is more of a legacy fight because after this, if he wins, he's going to vacate the belt.
Yeah.
And he might go back to 205 if there's still something there. But realistically for him, who's there at 205 that's
unless Johnny
screaming?
Comes back.
Yeah,
he's not taking anything.
Yeah, because John Jones is the only guy he wants to fight.
Yeah.
Well, that's not going to happen.
No.
So who else is there? I think for him, win, lose, or draw, I think this is going to be the last fight.
Agreed.
So I think DC wants to go out on a win. And I think if he knows that, and maybe I know he hasn't made it public, and this is my unofficial ODPH guess, He's going to go in there and say, win, lose, or draw, I'm leaving it in the cage. And when you have a guy that has nothing to lose and everything to gain, that is the scarier fighter to fight. Miocic is coming in. He's doing more commercials now. He's getting his name out there a little more. He's going to be ready. Don't get me wrong about this. But if you're saying who's going to be hungrier to prove a statement, and especially DC wants this belt badly. He does not want to go in there and say, okay, the only guy I can beat every other fighter on the planet other than John Jones. For him to get this is going to be a legacy moment, and I think he pulls it off. Do I think they do it by stoppage? No, I think this one might be another decision, but I think this will be a unanimous decision.
It's going to be a great fight.
It's going to be a great fight.
It's going to be awesome.
I think DC's going to come into this fight too, and he's going to be the heavier guy going into the fight.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's going to be bigger. So it's not like, he's going to have that
video of him
advantage.
today.
Yeah.
Big.
Yeah. He's normally big. I think he walks, what does he walk, 240, 250?
Something like that. I know it's a difficult cut for him to get to 205.
Yeah.
So this one, like I said, this is...
Stipe fights at what, 230? He usually weighs around
240.
239, 240, right in that general area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Saturday needs to come now.
Now. Like he said, DC's got nothing to lose. This is not about money. It's about anything. This is all about his legacy. People have been always on his back about losing to John Jones. He needs something to hang his hat on. I think this will be it.
I agree. You know what? I agree.
Yeah. So it's going to be a fun card to watch regardless. July 7th. I almost said June because we're taping in June. But July 7th on pay-per-view, UFC.com for more information. You want to check this fight out. That's all we got for this week, but I definitely want to thank the King of Lisle, Luke Visingard, for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime, Luke. You want to come back? Definitely. We got to talk a little more football when the season comes, so definitely make some plans. And the common man, Vince Ciotoli.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the ODPH. We'll see you next time.
Dreams like satellites.